Hello, my fellow Lonely Trollopes. I'm here today with an update in my Trollop read of The Way We Live Now. This is all a part of Steve Donoghue's Lonely Trollop read-along, where we're reading the standalone novels of Anthony Trollope in the year of 2020. So yes, this is chapters 40 to 60, I believe. I'm sort of doing this on the fly. I'm also reading The Mirror and the Light at the same time. And what I find is I read a chunk of a book and then I do a video. But I also need to think a lot, or you wouldn't think it, but I do actually need to think a lot to kind of try and organize my thoughts vaguely. And the thing is, I'm trying to read two fairly large books, keep up with Steve. I don't have to keep up with anyone else for The Mirror and the Light. So I'm gonna just try and do this on the fly because I have some thoughts. I have things that I'm interested in. What I often find with the Trollope novels, I like the marginal characters much more, or I find them much more engaging than the major characters. The Sir Felix and Mary Melmont, uh, you know, they're kind of affluent doofuses. I feel probably more for I feel more for Marie Melmont because she's sort of more trapped in the choices that she can make. Felix is, I guess, as much a victim as a beneficiary of the system that just, basically supports him being a crappy, selfish human being, and there being few consequences. Maybe that's a part of the reason is someone like Felix, you somehow you don't feel like that there's going to be consequences for his actions or inactions. In this section, they're supposed to run away, get married, he and Marie, and you know, he goes and gets drunk and gambles away all his money, and yeah, that's it. He goes home. He's like, he's gambled away not his own money. He's gambled away Marie's money. He's gambled away his mother's money. He's just, he's the kind of character you want to strangle. But I don't want to talk about him today. I want to talk about um, Mrs. Hurdle. Mrs. Hurdle is just come alive in these sections. She's this American woman who has followed Paul Montague to the UK, to England, because they seem to have had this romance. He asked her to marry her, apparently several times in America, but now he's come back to England and gone, oh, this isn't actually what I want. This isn't. It's like I said the last time, it's like he went traveling and he's like, oh, he got away from his surroundings and he sort of forgot himself in a way, or I don't know what the psychology is there, but you kind of enter into this thing and you're suddenly a different person, and then you get back home and, oh, I'm that person again, and I've got all this. I've got another woman that I actually love, or whatever. And so he's just basically tossed her off. You can tell, this is the great thing with Trollope. At a certain point with Miss Hurdle, it was like, oh God, she's the clingy, inconvenient woman. But no, Trollope is really good at suddenly kind of shifting things, and you're like, you start feeling for this woman. You start, the whole things of we're listing in the last time is like, oh God, she's gotten in duels and shot people. It's like, it sounds like she is somebody who's had to fight hard, who, at least from her own viewpoint, is perhaps being abused by the men that she's engaged in physical violence with, and fought them off, and was perhaps praised by that, and no one prosecuted her for these crimes if it was indeed a crime. So it's like, wow, and it's like that's the kind of engaging character. In some ways, I catch myself going, oh, what if Trollope was an American author? What if he was writing about kind of a different class of people, if that was more of his main thing? Because oftentimes in these books, he'll slip into Mr. Squeercombe, the inconvenient lawyer in this section that Dolly Longstaff employs, and then causes a great amount of trouble for August Melmont. And it's like I love it when you get little sections like that where you have this amazing kind of this scrappy lawyer who's like amazing at his job, who is basically, there's the other kind of the establishment lawyers who are kind of, you can just feel how lazy they are, how complacent they are, and this guy is just sort of cutting through all that, and exposing some very inconvenient truths, not climate change stuff, but basically, Mr. Melmont's shady dealings in regards to the Longstaffs. And of course, actually in this section, I start to like really get engaged with Melmont because Melmont, his downfall seems to be he's believed his own con. He's like, I am successful. I am great. I will go into politics. But of course, yes, the second you go into politics, they start digging up the dirt on you, the opposition. And with the stuff with Mr. Squier, the lawyer, digging up this stuff, a whole ton of people don't go to the party. So he is suddenly there's like a lot of very embarrassing gaps, and you can see that the House of Cards is starting its toppling. It's starting its toppling over, which is like it's like Melmont has done that. He's believed his own con in a way, and I mean, obviously, I guess. How successful has he been? He's built up stuff in other countries and had to basically keep on going. And will his next trip be to America with the great repository of rogues and scoundrels who the old country was too hot for them. I guess I shouldn't say that, considering both my parents were immigrants from the UK, though I don't think they were on the land for the law. Yeah, and the very final chapter, we get this whole thing of Georgina Longstaff, who, she's got some very clear goals. She doesn't want to be an old maid. She wants to live in London, and she wants to be rich. And she's kind of come to a very kind of reasonable thing, which is I'm going to marry this kind of wealthy merchant guy who actually turns out to be Jewish. And yes, I've often noted in these novels that yes, the worst thing I think Squier come at some point, his enemies say, oh, he's probably Jewish. It's like being Jewish is an insult in this highly anti-Semitic society. So but Georgina is like, and she says she and Lady Monogram have made fun of other women who have married Jewish guys, but she's like, you know what? This is what's going to sustain what my goals are. Those three goals: no old maid, being rich, and living in London. So she's going to do it. And I guess she's contemplating the thing of like, well, basically, will I cease to be a Longstaff and will I become become a part of the kind of the Jewish society instead? That will be the cut. Because this is a very anti-Semitic society. There's only just recently been the thing where you actually allow Jewish people to become MPs, and then it's obviously still going to be highly anti-Semitic up to the point of, World War II, where you still have a lot of people in British society who are thought, oh yeah, the Germans are doing the right thing with that Jewish problem. It's like all that kind of gross stuff is very much deeply embedded in both in our society, in kind of in English-speaking society, as much as it was in the German country. We other the Germans, saying like, oh, they were the monsters who did this, but it's like, no, that anti-Semitism was roiling everywhere. So really good stuff. I'm really enjoying myself. Now I get to go and watch Steve Donoghue's comment on this section. I will have a link to it down below, and his smiling face will probably pop up here if you, for some reason, haven't caught his video yet on Trollope. Yes, so that's my quick check-in, so I can get back to reading and listening to the way we live now. The way we live now, eh? All right, more videos later.